R and S stereochemical descriptors. Have you got it? This short video quiz assesses your ability to assign the descriptors R and S to stereocenters. This quiz consists of 3 questions. It's meant to be taken after you have studied the material and think you understand it. During the presentation, you'll be asked to pause the video to at least try to solve the problem yourself and only then to continue. It won't be hardly as effective if you jump to the solution immediately. Okay, here we go. Number 1. In each case, label the stereocenters as R or S. Take your time, pause the video, see if you can get these 3 stereocenters, and then I'll talk about them. Okay, we're back. 3 stereocenters. Let's start with this one on the left. I'm going to write in the H, so we have all 4 groups. Highest priority is going to be this oxygen, and then we have 2 carbons. Now, the 2 carbons are both CH2, CH2, and then a carbon, so they're the same. We can move on to the next one. In each case, the one over here on the right has an oxygen, a carbon, and a hydrogen. The one here on the left, over here, has 2 hydrogens and a nitrogen. Nitrogen, hydrogen, hydrogen. The nitrogen loses to the oxygen. And so the second priority is over here on the right, and then the third priority is over on the left with the H in the back. So in this case, we have 1, 2, 3. We're going clockwise in front of the hydrogen, so this one is R. Next, again, we have an OH, an oxygen, so that's the highest priority relative to 2 carbons. Then we have a CH2 and a carbon, and a CH2 and a carbon. So we go on to the next one, over here and over here. In this case, we have 2 oxygens, and this double bond actually counts as a third oxygen. So this is oxygen, oxygen, oxygen over here on the right, and of course this is oxygen, carbon, hydrogen. So the oxygen beats the oxygen carbon, and our second highest priority is the one on the right again. The one on the left is third priority, and the H is in the back. So we go around in front of the hydrogen clockwise, and this one is also R. Okay, how about the third one? Now in this case, the hydrogen is in the front, but we don't care. We're still going to do exactly the same thing. Over here on the right, we have 2 oxygens. We actually have 3 oxygens due to that double bond. So oxygen, oxygen, oxygen on this carbon. On this carbon, the double bonds are 2 carbons. So we have carbon, carbon, carbon. And the first oxygen here beats the first carbon. So again, it's our highest priority is actually this oxygen, oxygen, oxygen. The next priority is the carbon, 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 and the third is our methyl group. Now, in this case, we're going around clockwise, but look, as we go around, we go behind the hydrogen. The hydrogen is out front here. So what we're going to do is reverse our setting. So going clockwise, we have R, but the hydrogen is in front. This one is S. All right. Number 2. In each case, label the given stereocenters as R or S. Well, there are a lot of them here. So take your time, see how many you can do. Come back and I'll talk you through them. Okay, let's take this first one up here on the left. We have a carbon with an oxygen. That's going to be our highest priority. We have a carbon with a nitrogen. That's our second priority. We have a carbon with more carbons. That's our third priority. And the H. We're going clockwise. 1, 2, 3. And there I just went over the hydrogen. So that's going to be R. Next one. Down here. We have a nitrogen. So that's definitely 1. We have a carbon over here with it's a CH2, but here a carbon here with extra carbons because of the double bond. So this one's with the extra carbon is going to be the winner. 3. We have 1, 2, 3. Now watch out, watch out. I'm going to go behind the hydrogen to draw that 1, 2, 3, 1. Notice I went behind the hydrogen, so I went counterclockwise. I would say S, but this is R because the hydrogen is in the front. Okay, how about these next two? How about this one over here? In this case, the hydrogen in the back. What do we have? Well, over here, we have a carbon that has effectively 3 carbons on it. A carbon, carbon, and a carbon. So this one over here is a carbon, carbon, carbon. And this one over here is a carbon, carbon, hydrogen. Because there's 2 carbons, carbon, this carbon, and this hydrogen. And then over here on this side, we have 2 carbons and a hydrogen, right? 2 carbons and a hydrogen. So that's the same as this one. Carbon, carbon, hydrogen. It's a little harder. So what we have to do is go to the highest one, this carbon, and continue on to the next carbon. The next carbon over here has 3 carbons. Carbon, carbon, carbon. But this carbon over here, when we continue on, has an oxygen carbon-carbon. So that oxygen beats the carbon. And we are able to say that this group over here is our second group. That makes this one our third. Hydrogen is in the back, 1, 2, 3. And going clockwise, this group is R. A little tricky, but that's how you do it. Okay, how about this one? Well, I think it's a little easier. In this case, we have a carbon with an oxygen, carbon, carbon. In this case, we have a carbon which has carbon, carbon, hydrogen. And in this case, we have a carbon which has a carbon and 2 hydrogens. All right, so OCC beats CCH, which beats CHH. And we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, and back to 1. Oh, I'm going behind the hydrogen. So I clockwise, that would be S, but because we're going behind the hydrogen, this one is going to be R. Okay, how about this last one? Well, this is kind of interesting. So here we go. The assignments of 1, 2, 3 are really easy. We have a nitrogen, we have a carbon with more carbons, and we have a methyl group. All right, but look what happens when we try to make the circle. We go 1, 2, and then, I have to go way back here to get to 3. See, way back here, it's a hash. I have to go back here and then come up. And that back here tells me I'm going behind that hydrogen. So I'm going clockwise, 1, 2, 3, R, but the hydrogen is in front of that circle in space. So this guy is S. There you go. What do you think? A little harder, right? Okay, how about a real challenge? Label all 11 of the stereocenters of paclitaxel as R or S. All right, this is kind of a bonus question. This could be really hard, but give it a try. See what you can do. Come back, and let's see what we've got. All right, listen, I'm just going to show you the answer. There you go. S, R, S, R, S, S, R, S, R, S, S. If those don't match what you got, take a closer look, see how it works. If you can't figure it out still, talk with someone, see if you can figure it out. But I don't think I'm going to go through all of these just to show you how they do them. I'll just leave those to you as the answers to those 11 stereocenters. So remember, the first step in labeling a stereocenter as R or S requires assigning the priorities 1 highest to 4 lowest. If the lowest priority group, usually H, is in the back, going around 1, 2, 3, 1 clockwise constitutes R. An effective method is to think or draw the circuit 1, 2, 3, 1 first, then decide if this loop goes in front or behind the fourth group. If in front, we're done. If the loop goes behind the fourth group, though, then we switch our designation. All right, well, I hope that helped, and I hope you've got it.